So Chris Corrales of Medicinevolution, Bodywork Beyond Massage, here today with Derek Rodriguez.
Yep, just a guy.
Superman, that's all.
Yeah, right?
So, just want to talk a little bit about my work and maybe why you came in.
Yeah, so initially I came in mainly because I was looking for things. I've done a lot of deep tissue massages, done a lot of postural correction stuff, and I knew that there was kind of something out there that was more than that. And so I heard about Rolfing, honestly, from Boss Rudin, like one of the podcasts.
Oh, wow.
And he was talking about he's got this woman, and he described these metal tools that she uses to like really beat him up, and but it hurts, but it's really good and effective. And so I started looking into it, and I talked to a couple of people, and there were some people claiming that they were doing Rolfing locally and stuff, and I heard about it, and what they were doing was, you know, they'd find a problem like with your shoulder or something. I've always had an issue, and they would like really work on just your shoulder right there to fix it. And from what I've learned, just from experience, is that, you know, it's so much more than that. You know, my hamstrings control my back and all kinds of stuff, so interconnected. So when I went on and did a lot of research and tried to find everything out, it was like Rolfing actually, and then everything you had written on your page and all that kind of stuff was more integrated. And so I realized that I needed something for my whole body, not just one thing. Because it wasn't a traumatic event that hurt my shoulder or caused any of my injuries. It was like, I could tell it was repetition. My body wasn't moving properly, and so then over and over again I was improperly moving and building these bad patterns and then causing the pain that way.
Right.
So that's kind of like a lot of what brought me in here. And then of course, I'm not going to lie, being a BJJ guy, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the fact that you were a brown belt and all that kind of stuff, definitely steered that way. And then I saw your experience and all that kind of stuff, and I think after the first session, that was it for me. I was sold. It's like you just feel so different right away, so in place.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes Rolfing different, is that we're working on overall patterns that are creating these sort of smaller issues that become more intense at that point of strain.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're not relieving the entire pattern, you're not going to really get to the core of the issue.
Yeah, and I found some things, you know, kind of on my own, like I said, from my own knowledge, where, you know, something would hurt, and I'd be doing a certain workout and it would hurt, and then I would release a different muscle by massage or stretching or whatever, and then all of a sudden, you know, it wouldn't even be related. Like stretching my hip flexors would hurt less on my shoulder and stuff because my back wasn't arched in a certain, you know? And it was like I started to realize that like if I fix something over here, it might change the outcome when I work a different muscle.
Right.
And that was really what sold me to Rolfing as opposed to everything else I've tried. I mean, I was going, you know, regularly to massages and all kinds of stuff.
Right. And that's, Dr. Rolf really took a long time to name her work. And she named it structural integration for a reason. She was really precise about that.
Yeah.
And it's integrative work, right? So that means that the function of the body is important in while doing the work. That's like one of the main things that we want to maintain, and even we want to bring out that potential. The functional potential needs to be brought out, and the only way that can be done is if the body part that's in stress is better related to everything else. It's better integrated.
Yeah. I mean, it made huge sense, you know. That was definitely one of the biggest parts.
And then, and so people kind of have a hard time differentiating Rolfing from deep tissue, because there are a lot of people out there who say, like, you know, I heard Rolfing hurts, and then practitioners will say, well, yeah, a lot of people say, you know, my work is like Rolfing. So what was your experience as far as pain?
With you, it was surprisingly light. There was like one session we had, which now, I mean, I think I've been done for just about a month or so, and on top of that, it's crazy actually. I'll get into this another time, but the way my body moves now is so different than it was previously, even with everything I tried. But you know, I came in expecting a lot of pain. And you didn't get too much. Honestly, a lot of the stuff you did with like the fascia and all that kind of stuff, you were moving and manipulating and expanding and releasing and all that without having to actually hurt me. You know, of course, like I personally had a couple issues with, you know, tight thing on my hip on the inside and stuff, and that kind of stuff hurt because that muscle was knotted and beat up for, I mean, I don't know, 20-something years of, you know, using it the wrong way. So that kind of stuff hurt, but it was surprisingly light, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that people don't really have a good understanding of fascia. I mean, now it's like this key word that everybody's throwing around, but honestly, it took me about 10 years to be confident that I was working with fascia.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to work with muscles.
Yeah.
Like, anatomically, you can open up a book and say, okay, this is the bicep, or this is the pec muscle, and you can see it, you can feel it. It's like right there, accessible at your fingertips for almost anybody.
And even as a person, I can flex it.
Right.
When I lift something, I can flex it and go, that flex, that's my bicep.
Right. But with fascia, it's like it's
So different.
it's hidden.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really hidden. But it's important because it's what encases the muscles. It's what envelopes, like, say, the whole of the thorax, and how, you know, it gives us the profile or the silhouette of who we are. Fascia shapes. It's the organ of shape and structure.
Yeah.
Basically, but it has to do with every organ in the body. And that's why it's so profound. That's why people want to talk about it more now, because it really affects every system in the body once you know how to manipulate and manipulate it in an organized way.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say too, is like people want to talk about it, like you said, so it's more popular and people understand like fascia release and all these, you know, the foam rolling concept behind it, but so many people don't actually understand how to do it in an organized way, or really even what they're doing. Most people just think you expand it by smashing it and it opens.
Yeah.
And your way is so much more smooth and actually more organized with more of a purpose, you can tell.
Right. The layers of the fascia comes in layers in the body, and the 10 sessions of Rolfing allow us to honor the anatomical reality of fascia. So that in the first session we make sure that we're remaining, our work is staying focused on the external most layer of fascia. And in the second session, that's also pretty external, but now, with each session we're going deeper and deeper without diving through and penetrating and creating holes in the fascia itself.
Oh, I see. So you're relieving the whole thing, as opposed to where I think people make mistakes is maybe they just dig real hard and loosen up a section of it without kind of the whole integrated purpose.
There should be sort of a relief and a release of the entire layer, not just like a particular spot.
Oh, and see, that, you saying that now makes total sense, because that's what I felt. I felt like a whole overall general release, as opposed to, like I said, you know, when I got my shoulder worked on or something like that, and I felt relief shortly right there, but it didn't stick, and it didn't translate to the whole body.
Right. It's not going to stick if the fascia is still tight. In those superficial sessions, in sessions 1, 2, and 3, we're actually expanding the envelope so that everything within has the ability to expand in its time
And go into its place.
Right. So, but if the fascia is still tight and you get a release within, it can only go so. There can only be released so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I've noticed, and that makes sense. My whole posture is like completely changed. Like the size, I don't think I've told you this either. Like the size of my feet have changed. Because we do a lot of footwork being flat-footed before and stuff, and I've totally got arches and support, and from the ground up, it's been like rebuilt. But my feet are actually more. They've changed shape. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. They're like bigger, but not. But everything feels so different. And my whole body, my chest, my rib cage, the way I stand, everything is just like totally pulled into place with a purpose.
And so, how does that? How does it affect your function? Because like you do Krav Maga, you do CrossFit.
Still some BJJ, yeah, picking up some wrestling again, like back in the day. But, and that's the thing is like so many people too, because Rolfing, they get the it's intense, it's for high athletes, and you hear guys like I said, Boss Rutan or Joe Rogan or someone big is talking about they do it because they're constant training, but I found the benefits of it were phenomenal in the gym. I mean, my kicks and everything was flowing, and my movements were so smooth, and nothing got stuck. I never felt lopsided. But way more than that was like the way I sleep. Like when I lay down, kind of how you were describing the way everything is relaxed, I can lay down and it's almost like I sink into my bed and just kind of spread out. And there's no pulling or nothing, you know, and I just kind of go flat and I can sleep soundly. When I walk, my walk feels different. I can't remember what session was, like the second or third, we worked on my calves and all kind of stuff, and you were like, don't sit down, go take a walk for about a half hour before you go do any activity. And I remember I kept describing it to people from your usual suspects, and Kaiser Sose at the end of the movie, you know, he's pretending to be disabled, and he starts walking. At the end of the movie, he starts walking normal to kind of show that he's not. I went through like that whole transformation. My foot was turned in, I was walking, and everything was uncomfortable, and all of a sudden as I was walking, everything kept loosening and loosening, and then my walk has like honestly never been the same since that day. It's been crazy.
Nice. Yeah, so one thing that turned me on to the Rolfing versus like just maybe a normal deep tissue or, you know, kind of the normal massage that you find out there is that the Rolfing's really functional.
Yeah.
To me, it was really functional, and that's kind of what turned me on, because I had a shoulder issue, like I told you about. I had a shoulder issue, and in just a few minutes, the range of motion was completely restored.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the work, because it does something that other types of work aren't getting to.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that. Like I said, you know, and then of course with CrossFit stuff, you know, most people have problems with overhead lifts and all that because things don't move properly. But it's like after a couple sessions, I go in and everything overhead is like significantly easy, and it's not necessarily that my muscles have grown stronger, it's that I'm not resisting myself. So the amount of weight that I've been able to put on has been just so much higher because I can move properly. You know, I can actually activate those muscles, and it's made a huge difference with that. You know, like I said, with no stretching, no nothing, I've got head kicks and all kinds. I can practically do the splits now. I was just actually checking out last night, and like my range of motion for my hips is like so huge, it's unreal.
Yes.
And it's funny because most people, you know, I've always been told, I've always wanted to do the splits and, you know, head kicks and all that kind of cool stuff. And everyone's always like, guys can't do that. They're too muscular. Guys are too muscular. Women can do that stuff. Guys can't do that. And I've stretched and a couple different theories of like expand and then contract your muscle and then expand more to get the more depth in it. And I've tried a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I put no effort into Rolfing, and all of a sudden everything opened up on its own.
Yeah,
it was
it's
like
crazy.
a trip.
Right. Yeah, it you know, the fascia is its own organ, and stretching focuses on muscles.
Yeah.
And like I said, fascia, it's not an easy thing to get a hold of as a therapist. It takes a lot of years and a lot of experience, but it is the thing that changes everything.
Yeah. And that's honestly one thing I say when I tell most people, you know, I've been referring CSA people and all kinds of stuff over to you, is that you can tell with the first couple of visits with you that you actually feel something that most people don't feel. You know, you react when something's tight, you're able to, without forceful, like I said, it's not like you're pushing it, you're massaging it in a way that it works. It's not, you know, hard to push and smash. It's like,
yeah,
it's worked out.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I kind of learned the pushing, smashing techniques in massage school, but in Rolfing, one of the things that was different was the teachers would describe a sort of lifting of the tissue off of the bone, or lifting of tissue off of other muscles or other structures that surround it, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Being able to lift, you know, get lift instead of like, you know, because a lot of my clients will foam roll and, you know, for years and whatever, but it doesn't always get to it, because again they're just smashing and smashing and smashing rather than lifting.
Yeah, and I always thought I was so cool because, you know, I graduated from foam roller to softball to lacrosse ball to harder and harder, thinking it was doing something, but it didn't have nearly the same effects as just having it be manipulated and worked out.
Nice. Cool. So that's the difference between Rolfing structural integration at Medicinevolution and other types of massage and bodywork out there. Thanks, Derek.
Perfect.